Is it?
So how are you gonna handle this one?
Oh, God.
Yuck.
Yuck. That sounds gross.
Good morning.
Morning.
Today's Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. It's 8:45. We're going to open up for the public comment portion. First on the list is Nancy Garlock. Can you come up to the
Should we shut the back door?
front row there and make sure the speakers turn, or the microphone's turned on, and then you can talk into that.
Okay, today I'm here to discuss what we call the mansion on Long Lake. Apparently, no one is doing anything to get it upgraded to what everyone else has to have. Septic, electric, a foundation, a roof. Right now, they've just got sheet metal pieces patched all over it. And we've been talking to the county attorney for the last 2 years. I talked to zoning and planning 3 years ago already. They had a fire in the roof. The fire department came and blew out all the windows in the house, in the whole front of the house and the sides. They were gone for 2 years, so that place has got to be full of mold, rodents, and any other kind of stuff. They come up and they stay in this place overnight, several times, all year long. And we want something done. We want somebody to take some action and get it either out of there or get it brought up to what everybody else's homes has to. We're charged thousands of dollars in taxes on our lake. They pay $676. I don't think that's right. So I want to find out what can be done. They were talking about condemning, they were talking about making a purchase of the house or offering a price.
I should just say that during the public comment, obviously, we're here to listen to your deal. We're not in a good position to actually
Okay.
offer, like, this is what we can or can't do, but please say everything you need to say so that it's on record and we can, after the meeting, do what we
Okay.
have to do, okay?
Well, this is from September of 2017.
It looks
That's
a
how
little
long this
long.
house has been placed on our on the lake.
Mr. Chair, can I ask, what's the address?
30957 in Bertram.
Bertram.
It's on Long Lake.
County Road 104.
That must be on the east side,
Yep, west side,
west side.
right down from the hub. Anytime you talk to people, they know what, they talk about it. It's an eyesore. People on the lake stop and look. People on the road stop and look. It's a dangerous thing if anybody went over there and got hurt. But
Okay.
Anyone else? Any other commissioners?
do you have anything?
Is this Terrence?
Pardon?
Are you Terrence?
Terrence O'Brien.
Oh, Terrence O'Brien, okay, yeah, I should have asked you to state your name too, and then we usually do the full address and all that stuff. Actually, if you could just state your name and your full address, I'd appreciate it, both of you.
Nancy Garlock, 31018 Epic Drive, Bertram.
And,
Terry O'Brien, 31068 Epic Drive. And I also own the property adjacent to this derelict property. And it's really an eyesore. It's just ridiculous. It's on an unsafe foundation, and they keep children in this house when they come up out of St. Cloud to use it. It can't be a good situation. No sanitation.
2 years ago, they were ordered to get everything done, electric, septic, foundation. They gave them a year. Well, we went to court last year. She got fined $1,000, and that was it. Nothing happened.
And that next year will be up here again, I believe, in July, and absolutely nothing. I mean, not even an attempt to do anything has been done. You know, I guess the first thing I'd do would be put a foundation in, but that's not happening. And of course, now with the weather moving in, it's gonna be impossible to dig down there on that lake shore.
So the county attorney's office said, talk to the commissioners. So that's where I'm starting again. We've also talked to zoning and planning.
Well, thank you for coming and bringing it. This is the first I've ever heard of it, so maybe others have. It's not,
Hey,
it's not
I've talked
necessary.
to Mr. Noska a few times.
Yes, you have. I've
Yeah, he's
considered
acknowledged
it,
that,
yes.
so. Okay, anything else we should take back with us and try to get?
I don't know
try
what
to-
else
try to
you
get-
need
try
to know
get some
besides
resolution?
it's,
Okay.
yeah. It's got to be absolutely awful inside with mold, mildew, whatever. 2 years without windows. Rain, snow, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And those panels on the roof, every once in a while, they fly off. So,
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
okay.
Have a, thank you.
So when will we hear anything?
Well, why don't we let us review it and talk to our attorney, or talk to planning and zoning and attorneys, and I'll make it a personal mission to give you a call back.
Okay. Do you need our phone number?
Yeah, if you want to give it to me, go ahead.
320-285-4577.
Yep, 4577,
Yes,
320-285-4577.
yes.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you. And if I'm not there, because I'll be gone for 2 weeks now with my grandson's graduating, but I'll be back up and there's the answering
I
machine.
make it out that way to have dinner every once in a while, so I'll give you a call or,
Okay.
If
Well,
I'm in
Mike
the
Allen
area.
has had several incidents with these people.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Road trip.
Just get it.
Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. It's 9 a.m. and we will begin the Board of Commissioners regular board meeting. Present today are all commissioners as well as county auditor and county coordinator. At this time, we'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to ask if there are any amendments to the agenda today.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have 3 amendments for the consent items. We will be adding 4.15, hire GIS specialist, 4.16, hire lead eligibility worker, and add 4.17, hire lead eligibility worker.
Thank you very much. So we needed a motion to approve those amendments.
A motion to approve with amendments.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And we got a second. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So we have a lengthy consent items here. Our auditor, treasurer, have at it.
Meeting minute approval for May 6, 2025. Gambling permit for Ivy's League Foundation, event to be 11/1/2025. Ivy's Legacy Foundation one-day temporary liquor on-sale liquor license 11/1/2025. Hire operations technician Paul Parrish, start date to be determined. Accept resignation of Deputy David Levine 7/25/2025. Hire part-time public safety telecommunicator Andrea Hiltner, start date to be determined. Hire intern Nathan Benning, start date to be determined. Hire Emma Drum, seasonal recreational assistant, start date to be determined. Hire Lucas Dushin, sorry if I'm murdering that name. Seasonal recreational assistant, start date to be determined. Hire Eric Dahl, seasonal recreational assistant, start date to be determined. Accept the resignation of Daniel Gaida, part-time jailer 4/18/2025. Hire social worker Paige Plotz, start date to be determined. Hire accounting supervisor Caitlin Pesta, start date to be determined. Hire eligibility worker Andrew LaPlante, start date to be determined. Hire GIS specialist, start date to be determined. Hire eligibility worker, and then hire eligibility worker, second item. And that's all of them for today.
That's it.
Looks like we should save some money on Indeed because we got all these postings filled, huh?
I guess.
Okay, I need a motion to potentially, or to pass the consent items. I get a motion?
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carries.
Next item I have then is the warrants to approve. The first ones are the approving the commissioner warrants, background was sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $106,541.11.
Okay, thank you. Up for approval are commissioner warrants. We need a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve the commissioner warrants.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you also. Discussion, anyone? Hearing no discussion, we'll take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Nasca?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Next item I have is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants, background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $66,576.14.
Okay, ahead of us here is to approve Health and Human Services Commissioner warrants in the amount of $66,576.14. Do I have a motion to approve that?
I'll make that motion to approve.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
No, roll call.
We'll do a roll call vote on that one too.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Nasca?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yeah.
And the last one I have is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants background was sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $145,599.29.
Okay, 5.3, Health and Human Services SIS warrants needs a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, and any discussion? And this one, we need a roll call vote on also, please.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Nasca?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5 months in, I still need help. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Agenda item number 6, Central Minnesota Housing Partnership, Hilltop Square Committee. We have a representative that would like to come up and talk about this.
At this time, Deanna is, I believe, on her way to attend this meeting.
Okay.
I'm guessing she has a traffic issue or something.
Sure.
Is there a chance of moving it, or would you like to move forward?
We can move it back if you would like to wait.
That might be a good idea.
Sure. I think our,
Just let us know.
I think we can do that.
Public Works?
If we have our representative, yes, looks like Public Works is here. We can move on to agenda item 7. The award of construction contract for 2025 bridge construction project.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Lauren.
Morning.
So as Commissioner Byers mentioned there, yeah, this is our request to award a construction contract for 2025 bridge construction projects. These are the two projects that we've been helping the townships on for the last number of years. The one project is down in the Candota, West Union area along the Sauk River. And the other one is for Stowe Prairie Township with the city of Hewitt up on the Wing River. So our options are to approve or not to approve the attached resolution. And our recommendation is to approve attached resolution awarding a contract for said projects to Landwehr Construction for the value of the low bid of $1,037,208.75.
Okay. So the item ahead of us is this award of construction contract to Landwehr and that amount of money. And the recommendation is to approve that. Is there a motion to do so?
I'll motion to approve the award of construction contract to Landwehr.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Newman on the second. Any discussion of the $1 million we're going to spend?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Lauren, how did that come in for pricing wise? You know,
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. If we want to look down at the abstract there, or the kind of the summary of bids, we had 3 bids ranging from the low bid at $1,100,000, let's say, to right around $1.4 million. And our estimate, I think, is listed below, right at about $1,300,000. So it came in a little lower than our estimate, but right in the range of the other bids. So we really couldn't be any happier. So
and
great
that's
prices.
actually been, all of the road constructions or tarring bids have all come in a little bit lower than our estimated bids this year.
Yeah, we're seeing kind of a trend that prices are somewhat, I'd say, plateauing, maybe even going a little lower due to competition, oil going down, prices going down. Not quite sure, but we're happy they're going down, or at least staying the same. So, great question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, then we have a motion and a second. I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Carried.
All right, thank you.
Very much. Very good.
Thanks, Lauren.
And we do have our next agenda item and their representative here, so we'll move on to agenda item 8, which is our ditch and egg inspector. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning. I have 2 agenda items. Make sure I got the
Are you
first.
doing the 30 or the 30? Never mind.
You what?
It's me. You're okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got the right one. Okay, so the first one is to acknowledge receipt of the County Ditch 32 hold harmless agreement for ditch maintenance. Background was the hold harmless agreement and the aerial photo. Recommendation, Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion. Acting as ditch authority, acknowledge receipt of a hold harmless agreement application to clean a portion of lateral 3 on County Ditch 32 in section 17 Turtle Creek Township.
Okay. So the item ahead of us is to have the hold harmless agreement.
To acknowledge receipt of it.
Yeah. So we need a motion to approve that. Acknowledge the receipt.
I'll make a motion to acknowledge the receipt for ditch 32 for a whole harmless agreement.
Thank you.
I'll second.
And we have a second. We're moving right along today. Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Everything's carrying today. Good job.
All right, my second agenda item is for County Ditch 30, hold harmless agreement for ditch maintenance. The background, the resolution, hold harmless agreement, aerial photo, and project picture were sent. Options are approve the hold harmless agreement or do not approve the hold harmless agreement. Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion. Acting as ditch authority approves a hold harmless agreement application from John Henry Raber to clean approximately 1,542 feet of lateral 6 on parcel 07-00-28500 on County Ditch 30 in section 24, Eagle Valley Township. This project will be done on his own property and at his own expense.
Okay, that's 8.2. We're going to have the hold harmless agreement for County Ditch 30 as explained in the board action. I need a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
And a quick second. Any discussion?
If anybody wants to see the map and just to
And
see
if
the
there's
area.
discussion about, we have maps up here we can look at, and Nancy always does a great job, so any discussion on it?
So that's just the area gonna be cleaned, and then if you look at the picture, it definitely needs, it's grown in, so it's,
Oh, yeah.
you can kind of tell where the general ditch line is.
That's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Looks like it's gonna get opened up. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll need a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried again. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is one of those times when you have a testament to showing up early, because if you're early,
You get it done.
you get right up and you get your stuff done. So if Clifton, Larson, Allen wants to jump up, they can jump into agenda item number 9. Welcome.
All right, good morning. I am no dog host, but I'll do my best. I am Lynn Vincent. I am the manager on the financial statement audit. I'm here to present the results of the financial statement audit. So our audit fieldwork was mid-March is when we came out here. We wrapped up by the end of April. As you recall from a couple years ago, we liked Todd County to be our first county issued, which it was this year, for the 2024 audits, so yay. If you don't know our process, we put out a ton of audit requests ahead of time before we come out, long lists of requests, and when we came out in mid-March, everything was uploaded, ready to go for us, so huge thank you to Denise and her team in the Auditor Treasurer Office for being ready to go. All right, I will go through our required communications as part of the audit, and then as a part of that, internal controls over financial reporting, some legal compliance requirements that we go through, and then some financial results. We did, in our deliverable to you in the packet, there should be a separate letter addressed to governance, kind of goes through all of our required communication. You can scan through that, but I will go through some of the highlights here today as well. So first up on our conclusions over the internal controls around financial reporting are our material weaknesses. These are deficiencies in internal control that there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement would not be prevented or detected because they are in place. No changes to any of these 3 items listed here from the prior year, so I'm going to sound very familiar from what you've heard in the past, but we will go through them. Our first one is segregation of duties. This is really in those smaller departments where you may have one person receipting in the cash, reconciling the bank activity, things like that. And then as part of preparing the financial statements, we do have some larger audit adjustments that we make that go into that. And then the last one there, controls over financial reporting, really relates to the inherent risk of CLA preparing the audited financial statements and then auditing them as well. We're not here every month at your meetings to hear the day-to-day are we missing a significant closure, things like that. We do our best to get them all in there through inquiry and work, but there is an inherent risk there. None of these are out of the ordinary for a county this with a finance department of this size either. So I'll kind of skip over to significant deficiencies. The county did not have none, and you've heard us say kind of what that is. It's that next level down, so nothing to go over there. The OSA does require us to go through 7 checklists to check compliance with state statutes. We had 2 instances of non-compliance that we identified in the past, or we've rolled it forward. The county feels that the resources needed to resolve them kind of exceeds the benefit. So those are ditch cash deficits. So while the ditch fund as a whole may be positive, if an individual ditch carries a negative balance, there are some requirements on the financial side of how to handle those that we kind of pass on. And then also when you're publishing disbursements, and the county is publishing the credit card total and then listing the credit card as a vendor, and state statute does specify you should really drill down into the detail and who is the underlying vendor and assessing whether those are over the threshold to publish. So a little bit more work going into that to be compliant. We also did our audit over single audit. So the county had just around $6 million of federal expenditures this year. We tested 2 of the programs listed on your CFA. The first program we tested was medical assistance, right around $1 million of spending for 2024. We identified 1 significant deficiency over eligibility in our testing. So we sample 60 cases, which is a big bucket, and to have only 1 with an error puts it in that significant deficiency category, not pervasive, not material weakness or anything like that. And then we also audited the state and local fiscal recovery funds, or ARPA, depending on how you use, which terminology you use, right around 1.7 of spending this year. No findings over that program. And then in addition, the finding that we discussed last year when we came out was resolved as well. Next, we'll go through the financial results. The first graph here is a trend of months of expenditures in all of your governmental fund balances. I'm sure Doug talks every year about that OSA recommended minimum of 5 months. Well over that, it trended down a little bit this year, and we'll kind of talk about it was the Public Works Funds. When we drill into the details of the funds, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but no concerns, still well over that recommended minimum there. The next graph here is a summary of all governmental fund revenues and by source for the last 5 years. So the largest source of income for the county this year is intergovernmental revenue, making up about 45% of your revenues, fairly consistent with the prior year as far as that bucket. The second largest bucket of revenue is taxes and specials, which makes up about 37%, and that's trending up with your levy increases. No other unusual trends or breakouts to discuss on that one. The next graph is a summary of expenditures by function for all governmental funds. Overall, the county expenditures were up $4 million from 2023 to 2024. 2.5 of that was the Public Works construction bucket. So because of that increase, the Public Works made up about 29% of all expenditures this year. General government was right around 18%, and human services was about 23%. But if you look at it as a whole, it's about consistent with prior years. All right, so now the individual funds themselves. First up is your general fund. Revenues have been trending up for the last 4 years, and if you look at that month's expenditures and fund balance there at the bottom, well over the recommended 5 months by the OSA for all 5 years, and then this year came in a little bit higher than last year with 14.7 months. The next fund is the Public Works Fund. So expenditures in this fund were up $2.5 million for that construction bucket like we talked about. Revenues did not show that same increase if you kind of look at the graph. So just a reminder on this fund, the revenues only appear in the graph if they were received within 60 days after year end. So because of timing of when those payments come in, you have what's called unavailable revenue sitting in this fund. So while that month's expenditures in fund balance may be a little bit lower at 4, I mean, you have money coming in. It's just after that cutoff. So I just kind of wanted to explain that a little bit. And then I don't know if I said it, but the amount of unavailable revenue sitting there is about 2.4 million. So it covers that 1.3 decrease in fund balance that is listed there. When the cash does come in, right? All right, next fund is your social services fund. Both revenues and expenditures were up in 2024 due to a large Sourcewell impact funding pass-through grant. So when the money comes in from Sourcewell, it's revenue, and then when you pay it out to the counties who are a part of that grant, it is an expenditure. And then this fund is still maintaining that 4 to 5 months of expenditures and fund balance as well. All right, and then next up is the Community Health Fund. I'm gonna ask you to ignore the graph. I think the social services graph got copied on this slide by mistake, but the numbers on the bottom are still accurate, so we'll kind of focus on that chart at the bottom. Revenues and expenditures in the Community Health Fund both decreased in 2024. And this was due to our understanding home healthcare department was closed in that fund, so a little bit less activity throughout the year. Fund still maintained a positive change in fund balance of $133,000, and then still has well over that 5-month recommendation of 9.5 months of expenditures in fund balance. Right, and the last fund is our solid waste fund. If you recall, this is a little bit different than all the other funds in that it's accounted for on the full accrual. So if we look at that net change in that position going way up, so 4.5 million, that is because of the $3 million cap grant and $1 million transfer in. And then because it's on the full accrual, any money spent on the solid waste facility is actually recorded as an asset. So the change in fund balance is showing positive. If you were to look out at the breakout of like the type of fund balance that is, it's actually, or net position, it's actually investment in capital assets. So it's not available to spend type of fund balance. And then this fund for the last 5 years also has positive operating revenue and positive change in net position for all 5 years. Just to summarize, the general fund balance as of year end is above the OSA recommended minimum. Community health is also above the minimum levels. And then social services and public works were just below, but really related to that timing of when the money's coming in with those two. And solid waste continues to report increases in that position. The only other, I guess, significant item that we went through for 2024 audit was for new accounting standards this year was related to compensated absences. We worked with the payroll department and kind of went through some additional estimates that go into the amount of like the PTO bank that gets recorded in the financial statements. All in all, the impact was fairly immaterial. You won't notice it when you're looking at the face of the financials, but it did require some work on the county side to come up with those estimates and run the right reports and things like that. But all right. Well, thank you for letting me present. Any questions?
Any questions from commissioners? Concerns, thoughts?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Much appreciated.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was informative. At this time, we want to, agenda item 10.1, our Todd County Extension Office and the Extension Office reports. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Just a few comments before I turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Miller here. Tony Hansen, Regional Director with the University of Minnesota Extension. Appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. The Extension team here in Todd County, as always, is very busy, but spring and early summer seems maybe the peak time of year for a lot of activity going on in the county. The goal with the team this year is to have them appear before you throughout the year to provide some updates specific to the different roles we have serving here in the county. And of course, we have Brenda Miller here today to provide some updates on her work. She is an extension educator under the Department of Ag and Natural Resources within Extension, has been doing fantastic work here in Todd County. I think the commissioners who are with us for our Extension Committee meetings see her outstanding reporting there and her ability to bring specific and timely resources to the residents of Todd County, I think is particularly outstanding. And so you'll just see some of the highlights from her report today, but I welcome all of you, if you haven't connected with her, to learn more about her role and how she's serving residents in this county. Absolutely worth your time.
Oh, here, I thought you guys were gonna have questions already. So I was just reading this report before I got up here, and I wrote this last week when we were really dry, and now it's like a monsoon out there. But we definitely need the moisture. The farmers, you know, I was kind of all over the county in the last week or so, and most everybody has their fields planted. So that's really good to see this early in the game, I guess. Hopefully after this rain, though, there might be some places you might have to do some replanting. I know in our neighborhood it's probably looking like that already, unfortunately. But very thankful for the weather that we've had thus far. As you can read in my report, I don't have to read it for you, but there's been a lot of things happening. Anybody who's involved in the livestock world right now, especially if you have beef or dairy animals going to slaughter, it's been very good for those folks. There's been some record market prices happening for the fat and feeder markets. Slaughter cows has been the highest that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I remember as a kid, if we got $500 or $600 for a cull cow, that was really good. And now they're making $3,000 a piece. So pretty wild. It's not gonna, you know, the futures and what's going on in the world, it's not looking like it's gonna decrease at all anytime soon. So that's good for our livestock folks. However, that also brings in some challenges in regards to safety and security of those livestock operations. And for folks, not necessarily in Minnesota, even though we've had some droughts in the last couple of years, but the greater US who have been hit much harder with the droughts, building that beef herd back up again. So there's going to be some, I'm not a fortune teller by any means, but there's going to be some up and downs, but I think those markets are going to stay good for a while. For those consumers out there buying meat in the grocery store, or even if you know, like let's say you bought half a beef from me, you know, those prices are continuing to stay up there as well. However, you're getting a good product, so sometimes you get what you pay for, and if you're gonna spend that extra money, you're gonna get a better product out there too. The last couple weeks have been really busy. It's been the Middle Sauk Waterfest and the Battle Point Waterfest, and so that the Middle Sauk one is held either in Sauk Center or Melrose, and there's like 500 fourth graders that come, and the one in Battle Point Park here in Todd County, the Osakis fourth graders come. And so my job at those is there's different rotations that the kids get to go to, but I get to teach them about how farms use and sometimes recycle water. And so they're always very interested how can a farm recycle water? So dairy farms, you know, there's different ways that we can do that more than maybe some other operations. But it's also very interesting. And then I talk about how we use stuff every single day that we don't know about from all of our animals, you know, the byproducts like leather, and we get things like shampoo and conditioner and deodorant. And then I was like, well, I hope you all are using those products because it's very important in personal hygiene. So they're always really interested what an animal provides for us other than just food. So really eye-opening. And then we talk about dairy processing and, you know, curds and whey and the byproducts of cheese making, because all of them like cheese and ice cream. And so then we get to talk about all that. In regards to some other things coming up, we've been doing these goat and sheep webinars for since 2020, so almost 6 years now. And we're working on doing some impact statements with all of that data. We have 3,500 and almost 4,000 people on our list of folks who have attended over all of the years.
And so we're going to do some surveys and see what kind of impact we've had on their operations, because it's really nice to know some of those success stories. Are we making impact? Are we making a difference in people's lives and operations? So that's going to be something I'm going to be working on over the next few months. I'm also working on making a new web page for extension in regards to meat rabbits. I myself raise meat rabbits, and bringing awareness to why you should be eating rabbit meat, you know, in addition to your beef and chicken and lamb, and what kind of things that we can bring to the table, because anybody can have a rabbit in their house or backyard. So maybe a little bit more easy to do that than have a beef calf in your yard. So we're going to be working on that. That's not going to be a 2-week project. It's probably going to be 6 months to a year to get that up and running and the data on the website. Some things coming up for the summer. Hopefully y'all are aware of that Breakfast on the Farm will be on July 19th at Vetch Farms. That's Lauren and Liz Vetch. They're about 10 miles or so west of Browerville. They milk about 250 cows with both a parlor and a robotic milking system. So that'll be really a fun thing for folks to be able to see both of those on one farm. We also have brisket on the farm. Be serving beef brisket June 17th at the Malloys, which is south of Brainerd. I know that's not in this county, but they've asked me to help get that event up and running since I have a lot of experience with breakfast on the farm, excuse me. But again, kind of the same principles that we do at Breakfast on the Farm with the educational aspect and seeing the animals and what a farm does. We're also working on some dairy programming for the summer, a potential goat tour, and then the Minnesota State Cattlemen's Tour will be in Little Falls this year. The Mississippi Valley Cattlemen are hosting that, and their group encompasses Todd County as well. So I've been tapped to help that. I'll be a bus guide and helping out for that day. That is on July 15th. Any questions? That was kind of a lot. I know y'all have meat rabbit questions now, don't you?
Yeah, actually, I wrote that down, meat rabbit. Is the, one quick question, as I was driving west on Osakis, towards Osakis yesterday, I noticed, it seems to be there's more goat pens, you know, it's more goat herds out there than I've seen previously. Is that a rising stock in our area?
So we are actually the #1 goat county in Minnesota, especially for meat goats. There's a big pocket of dairy goats here in Todd County and then in southeast Minnesota, especially with our Amish groups. They milk a lot of dairy goats. But we actually do have the most meat goats here in Todd County. And that is something that also continues to rise because we have, you know, dairy farms or even some beef farms. They retire from those livestock avenues and now they're looking for something else. They don't want to get out of agriculture, but goats are maybe a little bit smaller animals to manage. There are some challenges with that too, because you do have to build really good fences or train them really well to respect your fences. But yes, that is a growing population. And you see that at the county fairs too, like the goat project is, you know, through the roof. And it's continuing to do so. So I think it's just an animal that is very manageable. They do come, you know, like the parasites and stuff, you know, if you're grazing them, you have to do some more management on that stuff. But yes, they are continuing to rise in population. It's also easier to have a goat, you know, in your backyard or on 2 acres versus 1 cow. So you can have, I think it's 10 goats is 1 animal unit, 10 mature goats, whereas 1 beef cow is 1 animal unit. So so you can have 100 goats before you need a feedlot permit for our feedlot folks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could. Tony, I asked before at extension meetings about doing some kind of a written report of where last year was compared to this year, so we could see comparison numbers, including with the 4-H and so forth, and different 4-H activities that you're doing. And I guess I would like to request that in a written form.
Madam Commissioner, just so I make sure that we work on that as accurately as possible. Are you interested in enrollment numbers in
Enrollment
addition?
numbers, after-school programming, all the different activities that the 4-Hers do. And I know there's many different activities, but it'd be nice to see that in a written form compared to what they were and how many kids are participating in each program and so forth.
Very good. I do have a tentative date set with our 4-H youth development educator to visit with the board in a similar report later this summer. And so we'll plan to focus primarily on that as our report to the
Okay,
commissioners.
real good, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
You know, and for those that are listening at home or review this, I mean, that's a great thing for your children, whether you live in town, out of town, whatever to do is to get into 4-H, because those clubs do agriculture-related stuff. They do other activities regarding arts and entertainment, but arts, and there's a lot to offer. I've talked to a couple of the local clubs, I think the Sowers run one of them, and I was surprised at the amount of programming they have, so that's a great program to get your families involved in.
I agree.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you. You guys doing a great job. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item moving forward is our solid waste, and they're asking for some sort of resolution financing, I believe. Gap financing.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks, Chair, for your time. What we have before you is maybe just a background that I'll read off the screen. Currently, the state of Minnesota is up to 120 days late on reimbursement requests for approximately $600,000 for the CAP grant project that we're using right now to construct the solid waste transfer station building. And they have prepared a grant agreement they have not prepared a grant agreement for the remaining 2.795 million of funding. Now that additional amount is some of you may recall, money that was allocated as cash from the state's budget. So that was non-bond dollars. The project is nearing completion. If you drive by there, the buildings are up. The administrative building is pretty darn near ready to occupy. Concrete's in the floor of the main building. So we're starting to work on the outside. We'll be doing curb and gutter and concrete sometime in the near future. But as that wraps up, we need that rest of the money, and we've been talking with the state about that for like 18 months, like when are we gonna get that money? So as we've approached this end, we spoke with the committee, with Commissioner Denny and Commissioner Newman, about, we're still hopeful. I mean, they're saying they're gonna get us that money, but at some point, you have to cash flow the project. So if they don't get us the money, we don't wanna come to you with millions of dollars of late bills and an empty account. So we wanted to come before you and talk about interim financing. The options, as we've discussed, one is that the board would provide, and I call it interim financing or gap financing. It's something to cover while the state isn't. And we prepared a resolution. We spoke with the auditor's office about this. The other option is to do nothing, and we might be fine. Our goal isn't to use the county's general fund, but the goal is if the state doesn't cash flow it, then it would be to use the county's general fund until the state comes through. We've talked with Jeannie Given. She's essentially the grant fund manager. And essentially they don't have time. They aren't keeping up on their paperwork. Verbally, she has no objections to anything that we've done. The process so far has gone very well. They've paid their bills except for the last 120 days. They have no objections to the requests we've made. But she estimates that, that they'll get this work done by the end of their fiscal year, by the end of June. So yeah, I guess I don't have any more. Mike, is there any more to tell the story there?
No, really, the only correspondence we got is just that we should see that contract by the end of their fiscal year. So that's the only lead time that they gave us. So we have really no scheduled from them at all. So that's kind of why we're here today.
Okay. Any discussion before we get into
I
it?
would like to have discussion. I guess I'm really quite concerned about this. I think that as you guys have come forward with buying equipment and so forth, we were assured that everything was on track and the money was there. And then all of a sudden, we're here today and the money's not there. So, I mean, and I got a problem with using, and it's interest-free, using it out of the general fund for how long? So the taxpayers were losing our interest also. And I did not see where our county attorney has reviewed anything. My other question is, who's talking to the state? Are we really pushing the state that we need this money or not? Who's corresponding with them?
So, Mr. Chair, text on Friday from Representative Weiner. Have you heard anything about the money for the transfer station? And I texted him back and said, not a word. He said, I'll make another call. So he's been calling him multiple times, trying to push him forward so we can get that bonding money. And I don't know, maybe I should have texted Senator Udke too.
Mr. Chair, Mr. McCon has been diligent on keeping up to date with the state and going back and forth with them, going to bat for us. And this is being a little bit more proactive so we don't run out of money, so we don't have to come back to us. This is just kind of this is what the option is if this were to come to this screeching halt rather than get backed up with, like it says here, late fees and then be voiding that contract. So then he's been keeping our committee up to date nonstop, and I mean, you've been talking to him as I mean, weekly. I mean, and so multiple times a week, trying to figure out where to go and how to get it towards us. But up until this point, they've been great, and I've been talking with him. It wouldn't be they wouldn't be backdating the payments. It'd be a lump sum of everything when they come time to pay their bill. It would be everything all at once. They wouldn't just be constantly 3 months behind. But
You know, and understanding that, but what happens if the state doesn't come through with that money? And what does it put us as a county, what kind of situation does it put us in? Denise, I don't know, do you have any comments or
The
not?
board would have to decide what fund you're taking it from, if you're taking it for reserves and we're cashing out a CD that we're earning interest on, or if you're gonna take it from the general fund. And then, I mean, I see both sides to this. If they don't have the money, then we're gonna affect our rating for any future bonds, because our rating will go down because we're not paying our bills. They've gotta pay the bills. I realize it's just a gap till that money comes through. If it doesn't,
Yeah,
then I
what
guess
happens
you
if it
guys are-
doesn't?
If it doesn't, then that's an establishment that you should be making a loan at an interest rate to them.
I mean, I guess my first thought is what can we control versus what we can't control? Obviously, I mean, we have to make these calls to Utke or Weiner, whoever, blah, 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 do all that stuff. But, you know, the what if is, of course, you know, what if the money doesn't come through? Well, if that's the case, then what does the contract, what does the finance agreement look like between solid waste and Todd County? And how is that structured? Is it an interest bearing?
No, the first loan that was originally granted to them is a 0% interest.
Yeah.
So we didn't charge them.
I personally am not gonna say, give anybody through $2.8 million unless I have either some collateral or something that I'm gonna get back here. I mean, you know,
The
no,
bond,
no resident in my district, I think, is gonna say, let's just get somebody $2.8 million, and then it goes to pot, and then we don't have any collateral, any ownership in this, any whatever it is, any revenue stream. So I'm just saying, what can we control, what's legally doable, you know? And make sure that the residents of Todd County are covered.
Mr.
That's
Chair,
my take, sorry, that was a little emotional, but.
Oh, you're good.
Mr. Chair,
Somebody's
the
got to-
legislators passed the bond, okay? The governor signed the bonding bill.
Okay.
So it's there.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, I think MTCA was notified back in December that we were getting low on funds. We were moving along pretty good on the facility, and that we needed that 2.7 million. Okay? Now they're holding it up. Now, who do you contact to put the fire underneath the MPCA's ass? That's who's holding it up, the MPCA.
And I understand that, Randy, but I also know the situation that the state is in right now and the number of things that they're defaulting on. And that's the scary part of it as we're looking at this. And I realize there's a situation and we have to pay the wages and we have to keep moving. I understand that also. But I want to make sure that we're totally covered when we do this, you know. And the county can't
Go ahead.
just,
Chair, I don't think that there's an urgency that you need to have an action today.
No,
We-
okay.
yeah.
We'd be happy to speak with Attorney Lindeman and give him some more background on this. If I could, some of the comments made, just to confirm, I think everything that each commissioner said is accurate. Just to refine it a little bit, I mean, I think around like August of last year, we were like, where's the 2.8 million? And they said, will you need it this year in 2024? We went to the contractor and we got a schedule of disbursements of when they plan to spend their money. And we came back to the state and said, we don't think we'll need it in 2024, but we'll need it right away in 25. And also Commissioner Newman mentioned the monies, the state legislator approved this money for this project. So it is that disconnect between senators and representatives and the governor said this money goes to Todd County and made a commitment. And then there's these people that gotta do paperwork. We have no agreement with them on that. Now, I have read the agreement for the first 4 million, because there's 20 pages of fine print. And it does say in there that if, for whatever reason, the state doesn't have the money, we can just decide that you don't get it. So it's all, this is the world we live in, and we shared all of this with you when we did that financing resolution, 14 months ago. So we appreciate your patience, and we're just trying to bring it to you before we run out of money. So we wanted to talk about it.
So, yeah, give us a calendar, like what's the time, what's really the real timing like? I mean, obviously getting ahead of it is super important. Obviously, we understand it's not anyone specific in our county's issue that they brought, and they have made this happen. But what's the realistic timeline? I mean, are we 120 days out on our contractors? Like
yeah.
Mr. Chair, just from the financial side of it right now, we're fine waiting till end of June for this. They're not in the red in May, and June looks fine as well. We were just being proactive. If we get out into July and the state hasn't made the payment at the end of June, then we might feel the crunch. But right now, they're setting fine. We were just working together with them as being proactive, like, let's get this in your guys' ear to know that we might be looking at this down the road a month.
okay, well, then.
I mean, financially, they're fine for May and most of June, I believe. If the last time we looked, it was fine.
Well, if I could, just to the auditor's point, I can ask for a schedule again of what the projected spend out is by the general contractor. Because there's all these fine details, and when we're, right now, between 2.8 and 6, we're 3.4 million that they're like how fast will they spend that? So we'll ask for that data, so it's not us speculating, and then work with the auditor's office to show based on that, and then we receive, you know, property tax,
Yeah, we're working on the settlement now, so
revenue.
that money would be coming.
and then we could do our best job of projecting out that pinch where it goes to zero. Would that be helpful?
Well, it's always good, to get ahead of it. And I think that is a good idea to get a schedule, if you can get it, you know, and involving auditor and legal is important. And they're all, you know, everybody, how this works, even though we have 200 some employees, it seems like everybody's busier than a one-legged man in a rear kicking contest. So, you know, just,
Right.
I think you're gonna have to push. Somebody's gonna have to really be like the, you know, stick a red hot poker right where they need it in the eye or something.
Yes, Chair.
And it sounds like Tim said you've been doing that.
This
I
is a high
appreciate that.
priority to us, you know, essentially in the trenches with the MPCA. I honestly think the individual we are working with is doing a good job. As she's explained it, she has to resource this out to different departments to get it done, and I could scream at her and call her every day, but from the conversations we've had
Yeah,
so
that ain't gonna
far,
work.
that's not gonna help.
You don't get more flies with honey, than vinegar, so.
Yeah,
I'm not asking to browbeat anybody, I'm just saying,
yeah.
Right.
you know, persistence is good, though.
Yes, sir.
If I may add, you know, like in February, during one of our committee meetings, we knew where we were at as we were ending the winter months. We knew we were probably looking into August before final completion of the building. So as we started to look at our budget and where we were at, the frustrating part is again, like Mr. Newman said, we had continual discussions with the state, but just no response. And we've got Utke involved. I had conversations with him and Mike Weiner, and there's just absolutely no response. So it's frustrating when you don't get an answer. But yes, so, you know, as far as doing what we can, but right now we're just in, like Denise said, we are in a good position right now. We know that we have a lot of large ticket items coming within the next 90 days that are, just want to be ahead of it, so.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Do we
So
need
then we
to table this
till,
until?
It's just a information thing here, right?
no, it wasn't
No,
actual
it's
action,
not.
so.
A resolution?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not ready to move it.
no, I would
Well-
make a motion for tabling this. And do you need a date? You want to put in June or as needed to come back to the board?
in June?
I'd bring it back every 2 weeks, if whatever, I mean, I personally would like either through the people on the commission that you were, the committee, some type of reporting back, because you said that we're good to the end of June, well, that's 30 days away.
Yeah.
40 days away max, you know? So that's two meetings.
Yeah,
Somebody
so-
needs to kind of be the spearhead here, either your committee members or Chris or Mike saying, hey, commissioners, here's what's going on every week.
Chair, we'd be happy to bring this to every board meeting with our update.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, we're not, yeah, I'd like that. So we have a motion to table it. There's second to table it?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Noska. That your second?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we'll table it till. And
Thank you.
expect some
Yeah.
weekly, whatever, frequency communication from you, please.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update.
Yep.
Okay. At this time, we're going to move on to item number 12, is our planning and zoning team. And they're busy, it looks like.
Yes, we have plenty of items this morning. First is the line art request for CUP, an application for a CUP for temporary family housing on parcel 27-000-4801, which is in West Union Township, was submitted on March 18th. Was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the May 1st meeting, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the condition below. To grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, develop findings, and deny the CUP or remand it back to the Planning Commission. And the recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with just one condition. The applicant shall abide by section 9.17 of the Todd County Planning and Zoning Ordinance.
Okay. So the request is for the cup for this specific Lunart request. We would need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Oh, go ahead.
Randy made the motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Becker?
Yeah.
Commissioner Becker seconds. Any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, next is the Houseman request for CUP, an application for CUP to establish a dog grooming business on parcel 0300873000 at Birchdale Township was submitted on March 28th, reviewed by the Planning Commission during the May 1st public hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options would be to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, develop findings to deny it, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission to grant the CUP with 3 conditions. 1, the operation shall not house more than 3 adult dogs at any one time. 2, that off-street parking shall be provided for all business traffic. And 2, that the applicant shall abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Wonderful. 12.2, the Hausman request for cup of the dog grooming business in Birchdale Township with the recommendations of the planning and zoning team. Need a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Noska. Is that a second over there, Commissioner?
Yep.
Seconded by Commissioner Newman. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may. for a
Yes,
second
please.
here. So it says this operation shall not house any more than 3 adult dogs at any one time. Is that a condition that the applicant was agreeable to as well?
Yes, we had conversations because initially they wanted to make this a grooming business and the boarding business.
Okay.
Commercial services are allowed in shoreline zoning, dog kennels are not.
Okay.
By definition in the ordinance, once you get to 4 dogs, then it's a kennel.
Got it.
So to stay under it, we conditioned that to not reach that definition.
Got it, thank you.
Yep.
Yep. Interesting. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you.
Okay, next, Raber request for CUP, an application for CUP to establish a commercial repair shop on parcel 0700285000 in Eagle Valley Township was submitted on April 3rd, reviewed by the Planning Commission during the May 1st meeting, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP, develop findings to deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is adopt the findings of the Planning Commission to grant the CUP with the following conditions. That outdoor storage of products shall be allowed, but shall be conducted in compliance with section 901B of the Planning and Zoning Ordinance. 2, there should be no loading or unloading of materials within the road right-of-way. And 3, the applicant shall abide by other applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, 12.3, the Raber request for repair shop up in Eagle Valley Township.
Make that motion to approve.
We made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Noska. Any discussion? Hey, Adam, what's section 9.01B?
That is our exterior storage
Oh.
standards. So it just talks about not making a public nuisance, like if you can store it behind a building or screen it or whatever.
Screening
Just to
type
kind of
stuff?
prevent messes.
Screening type stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yep.
that's kind of assumed. We've had a couple of those last year or two that.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, no more discussion. I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, it's carried.
All right, moving along. Lancaster requests for rezoning, an application for rezoning of parcel 1500041000 and 15004101 in Leslie Township from R10 to AF2 was submitted on April 7th. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the May 1st meeting, and the final recommendation was to grant the rezone with no conditions. Options are to grant the rezone, deny the rezone, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. The recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the rezoning of parcels 1500041000 and 15004100 from R10 to AF2. Just for clarity, that is the north half of the northeast quarter of Section 4 in Leslie Township.
Thank you. So 12.4 is the Lancaster request to go from R10 to AF2. We need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you also, Commissioner. Any discussion?
I see that he's rezoning for a feedlot. Number of units of that feedlot?
And so we still gotta get down, do you know the exact numbers for Lancasters? Okay, that's part of this whole process. The feedlot's been there, we discovered it, we need to get him into compliance. R10 doesn't allow feedlots of that size. So the first step was to get him into a zone where we could do the registration, and Dylan's been working with the Lancasters on compliance and registration. So as soon as we check this box, we'll start moving on to those next phases to get those approvals done.
Okay.
Okay, Dylan's he's on it.
Dylan's on it.
We like that. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll move on for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries.
Okay, the Schumacher request for rezoning, an application for rezoning of the west half of the southwest quarter and the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter, section 32, Round Prairie Township from AF1 to AF2 was submitted on April 7th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the May 1st public hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the rezone with no conditions. Options are to grant the rezone, deny the rezone, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the rezoning of the west half of the southwest quarter and the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter, section 32, Round Prairie Township from AF1 to AF2 with no conditions.
Okay, 12.5 Schumacher request for rezoning from AF1 to AF2. Can I get a motion to approve that?
I'll make that motion.
I got Randy's voice first, so second will be Commissioner Newman got the motion, and Commissioner Denny got the second. Any discussion? No discussion. Take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 12.6 now.
Okay, I gotta get the right page here. The Durkis request for CUP, an application for CUP to expand an existing feedlot from 231.5 animal units to 612 animal units on parcels 14000760 and 14007602. Kendota Township was submitted on March 25th. Application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the May 1st public hearing. And the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, develop findings to deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the following, grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, that air quality exemption notices shall be provided to Todd County prior to all future manure application events. 2, liquid manure storage structure shall have the capacity of no less than 12 months storage. All manure storage shall be constructed prior to stocking of additional animal units. 3, in the event of manure spill or other discharge, the applicant must notify the county and the Minnesota duty officer immediately upon discovery of said discharge. And 4, that the applicant must abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards. Just a couple additional notes. The application had those 2 parcels in it, but the application to combine those 2 into 1 parcel has been submitted and approved, so it's just a singular parcel now. Therefore, their new manure pit will meet the 300-foot property line setback. Based on where they wanted to put it, we needed to combine those together. The feedlot permit through the feedlot program has been issued, and the applicant has obtained their DNR waters withdrawal permitting already also.
Okay. 12.6, the Durkis request for CUP expansion of their feedlot.
So,
Is that a motion?
yes,
Is that in your area?
yes.
Sounds like that area name.
Yeah, I have a lot of them today.
Wow.
It's a busy area.
Drumming up business over there? What are you doing? Boy.
Backspace, man.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Denny. Any further discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Congratulations. Business
Okay.
expansion.
Moving along, Oak Tree Acres final plat, an application for subdivision to create a 1-lot plat on parcel 0600051000 in Burnhamville Township was submitted on October 4th. The preliminary plat was approved by the commissioners on December 17th with the following conditions. 1, that all new driveway accesses shall be approved by the local road authority prior to installation, and 2, abide by other applicable federal, state, and local standards. Planning and zoning has completed a review of the proposal and determined that this is ready for final platting. Options would be to approve the final plat as presented or deny the final plat, and the recommendation would be approval of the final plat as presented to formally establish Oak Tree Acres.
All right, 12.7 is the Oak Tree Acres final plot. And that's in Burnhamville Township. Wonderful. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Noska, right in your hometown area.
There
Is
you
there a
go.
second?
Second it.
Second by Commissioner Denny. Any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Ayes have it. Carried.
Okay, Windy Acres Final Plat Extension, Section 503, Subpart 1 of the Todd County Subdivision Ordinance requires final plats to be presented to the Board of Commissioners within 12 months from approval of the preliminary plat, unless an extension is requested in writing by the subdivider and granted by the county board. Windy Acres was approved for preliminary plat on June 18th, 2024, and is requesting to extend the 12-month deadline, and this has been submitted in writing. It was in the board packet, so the options are to approve the extension as requested or do not approve the extension. Recommendation would be approval of an extension for final platting to set the new deadline as June 18th, 2026. And they've had title issues and mortgage issues with the bank to try to get the consent to plat and stuff. Takes just a lot of time, but they're getting close, but they're gonna exceed the existing deadline.
Okay, 12.8 is the Windy Acres extension. I have a motion to approve this extension.
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? By the way, Adam, how, do they get to name their own, like Oak Tree Acres and Windy? Yeah, that's
Yep.
a,
So when they apply, they just confirm with the recorder's office if that plat name doesn't exist already, and then they can name it what they'd want to name it.
oh, that's great. Okay. Any other discussion? All right, hearing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Carried.
All right, last one, the delegation of WACA to the SWCD during the 2025 PRAP review conducted by Bowser. A deficiency in the delegation of WACA responsibilities was identified. The attached resolution clears the deficiency and delegates the responsibilities of WACA to the SWCD except for enforcement of violations. Options are to adopt the attached resolution or do not adopt the attached resolution. Recommendation is adopt the attached resolution to delegate WACA to the Todd Soil and Water Conservation District. This was the topic we had at the work session a couple weeks ago. The only changes we made were just clarifying that the Soil and Water is doing all the decision-making with notice of decisions, applications, those sort of things, but the county will retain the responsibility of enforcement of WACA rules if it gets to that point.
Thank you. So 12.9 is the resolution to clear up these deficiencies and delegations of WCA and SWCD. We need a motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Wonderful, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Denny. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, it's carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. We're going to continue on with 13 point, Health and Human Services next. Then we'll catch back up to the Central Minnesota Housing.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I have a few board
Good
action
morning.
forms here in front of you to present. First one is a request to eliminate one paraprofessional case aide position. Some background with a reduced need for staffing due to health plan changes. One paraprofessional case aide position is no longer needed in the Adult Services Unit within Health and Human Services. Your options are to approve the elimination of one paraprofessional case aide position from the Adult Services Unit or to not eliminate. It's our recommendation that you approve the elimination of one paraprofessional case aide position from the Adult Services Unit.
Okay, 13.1 is the request to eliminate one paraprofessional case aide position in the Adult Services Unit. We need a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Wonderful, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, with that, passing, we'll have an adjustment in our organizational structure again. So with each change, we like to bring that forth. So the next board action forum is Health and Human Services Organizational Structure. Some background, there's been a reduction in work for a health plan resulting in a reduction of a paraprofessional case aide position within the Health and Human Services Department under the Adult Services Unit. The Adult Services paraprofessional case aide will be reassigned to an existing unfilled / open position in the Financial Services Unit. The reassignment to start on June 1st, 2025, which is the beginning of the pay period. The Health and Human Services organizational structure has been updated to reflect the elimination of one paraprofessional case aide in the Adult Services Unit. Your options are to approve the Health and Human Services organizational chart or to not approve. The recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Services organizational structure as presented.
This is the whole line of billing.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. If you remember, commissioners, it was Melina took back their billing, so that person had to be reassigned. With the help of our wonderful union friends, they've been able to work together and get this done. So the motion, we need a motion to approve that organizational structure.
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Noska. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And Commissioner Denny on the second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll take a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna take a quick break, recess, and then but you can certainly come up and
requested a $300,000 Live Well at Home grant that will also help reduce the amount of money we're requesting from the state of Minnesota. And so the application to Minnesota Housing Finance Agency will be for low-income housing tax credits, some state historic tax credits, some federal historic tax credits, and then that deferred amount of money in about $3.9 million, or about $4 million of assistance that we're requesting from the state of Minnesota. The community has definitely gone together and raised dollars for this project. Last application, in 2 weeks, they had raised about $122,000 for the project. And that shows some extreme commitment from the community and the surrounding communities to that this is a very needed project within Todd County. Our application, it's always scored through the state of Minnesota. Last year we scored 111 points, and this year we're projected to score about 135. So that's a pretty significant increase. We did accommodate some of those by increasing some of our green standards and applying for some outside funding other than Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, and getting some additional assistance from the Todd County HRA. Verna, do you have anything? Otherwise, I can open it up for questions.
I'd just like to share that I'm excited to be here again. Whoops. I'm excited to be here again to present this, because what we have is a strong commitment from not only the community of Eagle Bend, the Eagle Bend Economic Development, the surrounding communities, and also Central Minnesota Housing Partnership. One of the exciting things is I'm going out and visiting with the senior centers in the county and discussing this, and it is very, very, very much supported by all of the senior centers in Todd County. They are actually signing on to a pledge of $40,000 toward this project for money that we've raised from fundraising. And they're going out and working very strongly to pick in extra support letters. We could have used last year's support letters, but we feel that it's important that we submit a project that actually shows continued support, long-term support, and the value. Personally, one of the outstanding things that I'm excited to share is the architects making the commitment that this building, once revived, renewed, and repurposed, will last another 100 years. That's amazing, totally amazing. And I don't believe there's any other facility that could match that standard for housing that's being built at the current time.
Excuse me, thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions, comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I've been a commissioner a long time, and I've attended multiple AMC conferences and talked to multiple representatives. What is affordable housing? Is it $500 a month? Is it $1,000 a month? Is it $1,500 a month? You know, elected officials like to throw that word out as we're all supportive of affordable housing. Explain to me what affordable housing is. If you're gonna put up a $40 million apartment complex, okay, somebody has to pay for that. So are you gonna rent the bedrooms out for $500?
Correct.
Apartments? So
Yep.
can you
So we
explain
have,
that?
yes, exactly. So affordable, technically affordable in my world means that no person or household should pay more than 30% of their income for rent and utilities. That is the definition of affordable.
Okay.
So if I make $120,000 a year, my affordability is gonna be different than someone who makes $1,200 or $15,000 a year, right? In the state of Minnesota, what they do is they take what the median household income is, and they adjust that median income down to what is 60% of the area median income, what is 30%, and then they accommodate the rent associated with that income level. Does that make sense? So in the state of Minnesota, the median income may be, let's just say $58,000, and they'll take 60% of that $58,000, come up with that number, and then what is 30% of that? And that comes up with the rent associated with that. And it comes out in a little graph like this every year.
Yeah, because Social Security, you know,
Yeah.
they're not getting a lot of increases.
No.
And it's pretty hard to rent an apartment with Social Security.
Correct.
I mean, you know, unless all the utilities are included in there.
So we have a variable rate, so we have rents that are gonna be at 30%, so about $480, up to 50% rents, which I believe are somewhere around that $680, $700, something like that.
Okay.
So that's what the rent standards will approximately.
And this facility will be taxed commercial?
It will be taxed as a low-income housing, it's a low-income housing rental certification, so it has a reduced tax base because it is affordable, but there is a tax
So
associated
it'll be
with
government subsidized housing?
it. Yes and no. Yeah. We will be getting government subsidies to do the project, but on an ongoing basis, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be paid like in lieu taxes like HOA?
No. It would be, we pay the tax, because there is a tax increment financing. The city has approved a TIF district at this project. So there's taxes that we pay, and then it's pay as you go. So we'll receive a portion of those taxes back as long as we pay them.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could. I guess I've got some questions. The last time we were in there, the auditorium roof was leaking. Has that been fixed?
We've continued over time to repair the roof, but it continues to have an issue. There isn't money in the grant to cover repair of the entire roof.
Yeah. Was this put on a historical society building? It is?
Yes.
So whatever remodeling is done has to be done through the historical society,
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Which is very expensive. The last time I was in the building, the mold was absolutely terrible. Has any of that been taken care of?
I have not seen mold in the building.
It was
In the auditorium or in the school?
within the whole building. I think Randy was there, I was there, Chris Pelzer, I believe, was there the last time we went through it.
Okay. That will have to be addressed, yes. As far as I know, it has not at this time. I suppose with the roof not being fully repaired or replaced, addressing the mold would be kind of a cyclical.
Yeah, because it was, okay.
Could you smell it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, damn.
Oh, yeah, your
Oh.
eyes and nose just,
Yeah, it was.
Any questions or comments? Okay. So the choice ahead of us here is to show a letter of support for this project. So I would need a motion to do that.
I'll make that motion to show that support.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second the support letter.
And there's a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Noted. And motion carries at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, also, as a related, I just wanted to let you know that we have Amy Vagard here also from Hilltop Dining and in a related presentation or just availability. And she's here representing Lutheran Social Services of Minnesota, the Hilltop Dining area. And at last month's meeting, Commissioner Newman had asked to maybe have the possibility of sampling the meals that they provide. And Amy so graciously has brought meals that you can sample after today's board meeting. But also I wanted to just introduce Amy and ask her to come up in case you had any questions about the program. Also, she does have materials here that is on the program too. So I didn't know if any of you had additional questions or comments, but the meals are hot and they're available that you'll get to try. So Amy's sitting in our audience here and is available if you have any questions about the program. You can come up, Amy.
Morning.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners.
morning.
Hi.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
You want to tell us anything fun and exciting happening up there?
Yes, I can give you a little bit of background about our program. I've been with Lutheran Social Service for about 2 years now. In the last year, I've been in the role of Senior Director of Meals, and my background is that I'm a registered dietitian and worked most of my career in healthcare. So with Lutheran Social Service, we've been serving meals to Minnesotans since 1973, focusing on our older adults, but we do provide meals to youth and veterans as well. And last year, we served 1.8 million meals across the state throughout all of our dining sites, home-delivered meals and frozen shipped meals, as well as our youth daycares and school programs. We served over 25,000 individuals in the state of Minnesota, and currently in this region, we serve the 5-county region, producing our meals out of Hilltop Regional Kitchen, where we have a great relationship with the board there and continue to expand our services in this area. So we do congregate dining, where individuals can come to a site and have a meal at a certain time of day. Home-delivered meals, and that's where individuals are going out. We have over 1,000 volunteers delivering meals to individuals throughout the state. We have bundled meals in which maybe individuals want a pack of meals for a week or 2 weeks to take with them, especially when they live farther out from the main cities. And so a variety of different options that fit individuals' lifestyles. And when I think about the clients that we serve, we always say that we're more than a meal, and we are, because what we hear is that clients enjoy the flexibility of when and where they can have their meal options. I recently did a home visit up in this area, and the individual that we were visiting had recently left the hospital. And when we went to visit, do the home visit, the individual had fallen. And so our manager had the opportunity then to make sure that he was cared for, called his emergency contact, called additional services in, and really convinced him to take that next step to make sure that he received the right resources. So that's just one example of things that happen every day for our team members out in the communities, and why we are more than a meal. But with that being said, I do hope that you enjoy the meal today. It's chicken bake herb with sweet mashed potatoes, peas, and apple, and bread and butter and milk.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, and with that, I will open it up to questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioner team?
Yeah, I guess I got one, Mr. Chair. How do you guys do that with meals with all the dietary restrictions nowadays with medications and whatnot? That's gotta be a challenge in itself.
Yes, so first we are, the Older Americans Act, which is how the Title III meals are funded, has guidelines around nutrition and what we need to provide from the macronutrients and the micronutrients. So we start there, and then we do have some different modified meals available for those who need low sodium or lower carbohydrates. And those menus are built separately so individuals can see what's available to them. I will say with some of the food allergies that are more prevalent, we do have some restrictions on what we're able to provide. From a youth standpoint, we have a whole allergen file that we use and what we send instead for the kiddo allergies, for the top 9 allergens. But for the older adult meals, we are a little bit more restrictive, especially around, as an example, the gluten-free options, because we can't guarantee, based on where we're producing it, that it didn't come in contact with an allergen.
It's a big challenge, but yet so many meals going out, so thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I bet you that is a challenge. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Good point. Okay, any other questions, comments? If not, we'll eagerly await the little snack here.
Thank you.
We'll grab you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, if we can move on to standing committee reports, please.
Mr. Chair, before we move on to that, I need to go back to HHS's board action does not list a date to eliminate that paraprofessional. But if you look at the next org chart, it says effective June 1. So I really think that board action should have had an elimination date of May 31st for our records and for HR's records. And I noted that after the fact, and I apologize. These are sent to us by their division, and so I don't proof them all, but as I'm looking at these, they're not correlating right, and we need the exact records for HR. So I know you've already taken action on this, but I think we should notate that this to eliminate a paraprofessional or professional case aid should be May 31st. If you go look at that org chart, that specifically says right here in that board action to reassign the start date June 1. See where it says that in that board action?
We could change the start date to the 21st
Yeah.
as well, can we? To May 21st.
Need that motion on that.
On that motion, it was,
me.
let me get to it, sorry. To eliminate the pair was Barb and Denny, or Becker and Denny, and then the org chart was Nazca and Denny.
Okay,
I'm just saying, you see where that is for me?
Yeah.
Where the
so
second one?
if I go back, being that I made the motion, to include in my motion that the end date would be May
31st.
31st, and I would add that to my motion, if that's okay,
You're
Mr.
amending
Chair.
it, yes.
Yeah, whatever you need, whatever the,
You're amending your motion.
Yes,
Okay.
And
All
a
right,
second.
and then do we have the same standing second? Okay.
and do we all agree with that amendment and that second?
Yep.
If you do in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We all agree.
Thank you.
Thanks for the catch.
Catch, good catch. Committee reports, auditor treasurer, please.
Yes, we've been very active with taxes. That was a very heavy week of taxes, which is good to see for the financial world. And then we will be working on settlement immediately to get paid out, like Chris McCon mentioned, they'll be getting theirs from the tax base. And then moving on, in June, I will be at my McCaffrey conference the second week of June. I don't think I have anything else to report. Audit was good. Some residual questions. If you have any questions, please reach out. I can try to answer them, or the auditors will. I think that's all I have.
Just some budgeting, more finance committee
Oh,
coming up next
yep,
week,
that was the
or
other
soon,
thing.
right?
yeah.
Yes, sorry,
Gotta get
that
that
was in
hammered
my
out.
notes to say too. Jolene released all the budget information forms to the department
Yeah.
heads yesterday. We're still waiting on HR's payroll amounts to go out, but those will follow as soon as those
Okay.
get done. But yeah, we're in full swing of that. We'll be
Yeah.
scheduling appointments in 2 weeks, and department heads have been signing up for those, so we'll be hitting that hard.
Get her done. Okay, thank you very much. County attorney, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It sounds like we have a summer intern who's going to help us with some long overdue document scanning. That'll be a great assist to our office, and we're still waiting to fill the assistant county attorney position that's been vacant for over a year. But we're doing what we can to keep our heads above water. Thank you.
Thank you also. I actually had this discussion with Commissioner Nazca, and maybe it's unrealized on my part or other people's parts, but I think it would be important to understand that there seems like there's a lot of other littler stuff, or I'll call it littler, but extra stuff that isn't getting done because of staffing. Does that sound right, John? Am I making that
Mr.
right?
Chair, there are certain cases that involve a lot of time and energy and space. Public nuisance cases, for example, what your listeners may think of as junk houses. To get one of those properties cleaned up requires a lot of behind-the-scenes effort, time and energy. And while our office is trying to just stay afloat with in custodies and the regular cases that we handle, both criminally and civilly, we just don't have time to take on these projects that require that extra time and attention. And so I'm really hoping that having a fourth attorney will allow us to take a crack at some of these properties that I know frustrate Todd County residents and will improve our county generally. Thank you.
I think that's important. I mean, I sometimes have missed that and want to just make sure that the rest of the four commissioners, from my standpoint, I'm just saying, I don't want to, I personally don't want to hear Todd County this. I'd rather have it be a lot of hooting and hollering about Todd County, so, okay, thank you. County Coordinator, please.
Okay, I've been really helping out by participating in interviews while we, backing up our human resources until we fill our payroll position. I attended a Region 5 meeting, Soil and Water, Solid Waste, an AMC legislation update, a Gray Eagle Village Hall grant meeting with the Minnesota Historical Society and a group from the city of Gray Eagle, Community Health Board meeting, and then I applied for a Roundup grant for Battle Point Park, and then we held a speaker for Question, Persuade, Refer in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month for our employees here at Todd County.
That's a pretty good list. Good job. Commissioners, Commissioner Noska, would you like to start, please?
Yeah, quite a few meetings since last one, but which will be coming up here going forward in our work session, but we just did have some discussion at our community corrections about the sheriff's COVID van and what possible other uses we could have for that thing other than it sitting and rotting in a shed or in a parking lot. Also, I was able to sit in on a department head and personnel meeting in Commissioner Denny's absence, and it was, I mean, it was good to get a little bit of a feel for what the concerns are of our department heads and our staffing needs. So, yeah. Other than that, pretty normal. Oh, Todd Wadena Community Health Board had that last week. It was good. Good information by that partnership.
Okay, Commissioner Denny.
Yeah, nothing crazy to report right now. I did, like Lou said, he covered for me for a couple of meetings there, being I was out for those. We're seeing a lot of planning and zoning topics come up lately, so some big ticket items on there. Everybody should get a chance to look at that. There was a few that are kind of controversial, so, and they affect all of our districts, so everyone just kind of keep your eyes on these and watch how they kind of play out. And if you have any questions, comments, reach out to myself or Adam or any of the board members. We'd like to know everyone's opinion on that before it gets too far down the line and where everyone stands on it. So also just right now I want to take a moment to thank the sheriff's office again. I mean, they're just getting pounded with some accidents lately, and they're just doing a fine job. Their department's working a lot of hours, and the guys are under a lot, and I really appreciate them just constantly coming to work every day, giving 100%. So thank you for that, Mike, and your staff.
You bet. They're great. What a great staff we got over there. Very, very good. Commissioner Becker?
Yes, I have to follow that after you said that. Everybody.
Everybody's giving praise here. Wow.
Yes. I attended the Morrison Todd Wadena CHB annual meeting in Wadena, and then we had the Todd Wadena Community Corrections meeting. And we had a Rainbow Rider meeting, and they're going to go forward with our garage after trying to find the funding for 3 years, 4 years?
4 years.
But we're actually going to move ahead. We finally got a contractor that was approved by the state. And
Get out of here.
yeah, it's been a long duration, yeah. And then I also attended the public health meeting.
Good. Great. Commissioner Newman?
Yes, on the 6th, did a public health meeting via Zoom. On the 8th, solid waste and Rainbow Rider. On the 12th, interviewed for the solid waste position. And then Tuesday, did the same thing. We had 1 on Tuesday, I think 4 on Monday, something like that. On Wednesday, attended the Todd Wadena Public Health in Wadena. And Thursday, had a Sauk River 1 Watershed 1 Plan meeting. And then on Saturday, attended the Lake Osakis annual meeting. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Let's see. I also attended some department head and personnel meetings with Commissioner Noska And I spent a lot of time with constituents this last week and a half with some well drilling that was taking place over by County Road 86. It's interesting to try to strike a balance between our constituencies and business, you know. We're a very agricultural county, and dairy farm area wanted to check for irrigation wells, and unfortunately, they didn't find water, but, you know, sometimes there's reasons why that happens. And so striking a balance between constituents' needs and business needs, we always got to put our best foot forward there. So, and planning and zoning, and Mark Lars from DNR did a great job of keeping us informed so we could keep those folks over there informed. So that was very, very good. And I guess that's it for me. Thank you. At this point, we're going to close and go to work session. I got any motion to do that? Let's get a motion to close and go to work session.
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Noska. Second, anybody?
I'll second.
Commissioner Danny, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passed.
You went.
Okay. Again, it's Tuesday, May 20th, 25. We'll open up our Board of Commissioners work session agenda. Time is 10:47. We're a little bit behind, but keep it going. So first up in agenda is our equipment operator, full-time employee for solid waste.
Mr. Chair, I need to make a change to that. We have it listed as equipment operator and later found out it's truck driver position.
That is correct.
Okay, so I just want to clarify that.
So it's not equipment operator, it's,
Be truck driver. Thank you.
that's the job description, truck driver?
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. Go ahead, proceed.
So we'll be looking, and it's a budgeted item we put in our budget for 2025. So we're looking to hire an additional driver position to help with the new transfer station facility staffing. So we're looking to open that position up.
Okay. Committee members, you guys got any input?
Just your truck driver position, is it just doing the daily route or just, what do you?
It will be basically both. They do operate equipment, do some heavy equipment side of it as well. So he'll be running a lot of the facility loadout system into the new facility as well. And then using as a backup emergency relief in the trucking side of things as well.
Perfect.
I've got something, Mr. Chair. So you've got a few part-time employees that are truck drivers as well, don't you?
We have one.
You have one?
Yep.
Would you suspect our part-time would try to get these position, or do you think we'll be hiring from outside?
We, currently with the staffing the way it is right now, I'm filling in that trucking driving position.
Oh, okay.
So we're trying to incorporate someone else other than myself that has to fill in over vacation, sick pay, that kind of thing. Our seasonal, full-time, part-time, he's restricted on hours. So if someone calls in, then, he's not available. So it's not there, he's not there every day.
Gotcha, okay.
And the other thing is something we discussed a little bit in our committee level is just cross-training. It's something I believe in that way it breaks up the continuity of, the one employee doing something, the same thing all day, every day, and it gives us, I think a more efficient facility when you're running people and training them in multiple areas, so.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, Mr. Chair, we need another individual with a CDL.
Yeah.
Boils down to.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep.
Mike has enough to do.
I go up on Saturdays many days, and I see Mike working Saturdays, so, yeah,
Yeah.
and he does it willingly, nicely, so. Okay, so we should move this forward to the next board session, if you have a
Yes, sir.
ability to put that in.
You bet.
Perfect.
Go team.
Yep. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
No
Mike.
solid waste.
Yeah.
Get you
The
a
waste
cribbage,
haulers.
Get you a pom-pom.
Solid waste haulers. They're from the North Division.
I like it.
Take on the maulers. Hey, Adam.
Good morning again.
Morning.
Denise, if you're able, the presentation that Don has is, I'll have to scroll through the board packet for it. But good morning again. I have Don Bayumpa here. I said your last name correct, right?
Close.
Okay, all right. But if you recall back, we had the surveys that were sent out, I don't know, this was several months ago, to provide input back into both stormwater and the planning and zoning. So this is that report that Don put together, and I'll let him explain the program a little bit more also. So go ahead, Don, take it away.
Good morning, Commissioners. As Adam mentioned, my name is Don Bayumpa, and I'm the Performance Review and Assistance Program Coordinator for the Minnesota Board of Water and Soil Resources. As you may know, the Minnesota Board of Water and Soil Resources, we are a state oversight agency who has responsibilities related to the work that soil and water conservation districts, planning and zoning related entities like Adam's a part of, as well as watershed districts, and then the metropolitan watershed management organizations. And the purpose of the PRAP program is really, it's an accountability program to document whether or not local organizations within the state are carrying out the duties as it's identified in state statute and or state policy. And this is something that we do at an organizational level about once every 10 years. And so both the Todd SWCD and Todd County were in the queue for a PRAP assessment for this year. So One of the very first things that we did as we started our performance evaluation was we took a look at whether or not the entities here were implementing their core programs. And the core programs basically that are being implemented locally here are the planning and zoning programs that relate to water and land related resource management, the Wetland Conservation Act, and then duties associated with comprehensive watershed management plans. Those are those one watershed, one plans that you folks are partnering with other local entities to accomplish good land and water related treatment in those particular watersheds. And so first of all, we want to commend you for that work. You guys are performing the essential functions related to those core programs. In addition to that, we really recognize the fact that you are working well with others and you have some strong partnerships. And we want you guys to continue to think about ways that you can build upon that great foundation that you've already created here locally through the planning and zoning and through the SWCD. So as we started our evaluation process, we look at basic performance standard measures and we determine whether or not those basic standards are being met. And I'm pleased to report that the SWCD met 17 of 17 basic requirements, and the Planning and Zoning Department met all 5 of the applicable basic standard performances. In addition to that, we take a peek at whether or not there are things that these entities are doing that we would consider to be above and beyond the basic expectations. And on the SWCD side, 21 of the 22 high performance related measures were identified as being met. And at the planning and zoning side, 13 of the 14. So you have 2 great departments locally here who are doing good work in the county. If we can scroll down to a section, yeah, just keep rolling here. I'll tell you when to stop. It's a little ways here. I want to talk a little bit about the survey that we sent out. There you go. You can scroll right up a little bit. There you go. So the second part of the assessment involved a survey that was sent out to staff, elected officials, that would be you folks, as well as the SWCD board, and then the partners that you work with. And you guys had excellent response rates as it relates to the survey that was sent out. On the SWCD side, you had an 89% response rate, and on the planning and zoning side, about 70% response rate. To me, that tells me that you have partners that genuinely care about the work that's being done, and they took time out of their schedules to offer input and insights as it relates to their interaction with your 2 departments here. So as we look at the first internal survey, this is one where we asked the SWCD if they could share with us, if you want to scroll down just a little bit further there, oh, right there, to tell us what they thought were things that were very successful over the last 2-3 years. And you can see there's a ton of bullets that are listed there, everything from buffers to soil health to some cost share programs, the work that you're doing with the watershed-based implementation funding, the tree and plant sale programs, conservation easement programs, even aquatic invasive species program was referenced. The second question there, if you scroll down a little bit there, they provided us with their opinions as it relates to why they felt those programs were successful. And you'll see there, again, they identified lots of different things, everything from good working relationships to leadership, management and staff, and the ability to collaborate and communicate with others. Having funds available to do the work that you do is very important as well. And again, they're recognizing that without having landowners that are willing to do what the programs that you guys are promoting, it would be difficult to have successful programs at the local level. So let's scroll to the next page. Okay, here we're seeing the same question that we posed to the planning and zoning folks, and this would have went to staff and you as commissioners. We asked what you considered to be the most successful programs. And again, here you're referencing the wetland programs, feedlot management programs, Riverside Park Restoration Project, a couple county state aid highway projects, septic systems, shoreline management, and then the education and outreach efforts that you guys are a part of. So why were those programs successful? You shared with us that the ability of the staff to deliver the programs in a positive manner, collaboration, great staff again, training from the state and other local partners to help you do what you do, funding, and then seeing a need and pursuing it, you know, identifying what those concerns are and figuring out how to tackle those issues. And then again, the promotion and the demand for the septic replacements was one of the reasons why was particularly successful. We asked a question that was 180 degrees different, and that question then was, what did you feel were challenges? And the difficulties that were identified at the SWCD side, they referenced some feedlot projects that were on hold, a landowner database system that they're working on, and then easement programs. And the causes for those difficulties, in some cases, they reference lack of funding, lack of landowner interest, not having enough staff capacity to do the work, and then having limited technical expertise in the category or area of forestry. On Adam's side, the planning and zoning, one of the difficult programs was Miller Bay Lake, Wasakus, feedlot ordinance, and then movement to a paperless operation. And the causes for those difficulties, budget restraints in some cases, and then finally, it's difficult to make changes from a process that's been in place for a long time. Perfect. Here we're seeing a list of SWCD and planning and zoning partners that they are identifying as having good working relationships with currently. What I like to see here, and I like what I'm seeing here, in that there's a ton of local, state, federal, and special interest partners that are referenced between the SWCD and planning and zoning. To me, that reflects that you have this healthy working relationship with a multitude of entities to do the work that you do. The next subset or category there are partners that you'd like to collaborate or work a little bit more with, and you can see that there's a few that are listed there. Definitely a lot less than the previous question. And then finally, we did ask through the internal survey if you had opinions on how your organizations could be more effective. The first category there pertains to the planning and zoning department. And what you shared with us was that, make sure that you have a broad spectrum of education, opportunities available before and during project implementation so folks know what's going on. Having money available, more staff would be beneficial at times. Continue to keep looking for grants so that you can keep doing the important work that you have in front of you. And then again, keep training and education of staff a priority and in the forefront. On the SWCD side, they identified communications as being important, training and education. Public outreach, of course, was identified as well. Securing and maintaining funds so that you can continue to have the staff capacity needed to do the work. Training, have regular meetings, more communications, make sure that the staff people, particularly the technicians and the managers, are on the same page as it relates to workload, and having the ability to identify and talk about concerns that you have locally. So good, healthy, I think constructive comments that were generated through the internal survey. We want to scroll on to the next page. We're going to talk a little bit now about what your external partners thought about you. And here is a subset from the Todd County SWCD. You'll see in the very first program, or the very first paragraph, that these partners that participate in the survey, they work with the organization in different capacities. 33% say that they work with the SWCD several times a year, about 43% monthly. 24% say that they work with them almost every week. About 86% of all of those partners indicate that the amount of work that they currently do with the SWCD is about right. And then the remaining 14% say that they'd like to do more with the SWCD. Those same partners then were asked to identify and rank the performance of the SWCD in the performance areas as it relates to communications, quality of work, customer relations, initiative timelines, and follow-throughs. And all I can really say here is, wow. You take a look at the responses there, and you pretty much have 100% in the acceptable, good, and strong categories. And just focus in on the strong column there. Most of the respondents ranked those 5 performance areas within strong. So in terms of the views and opinions of your partners as it relates to performance, the SWCD is rocking it. They're doing a great job as it relates to the work that they're charged with. So if we want to scroll down to the next area, Those same partners were asked to provide comments on how they felt that the SWCD could be more effective. The first comment there recognizes, and they say that the SWCD is a powerhouse with a number of staff, with the number of staff they have, and they could probably use more. They are a great partner. Reporting and attention to detail is great, and it makes them a pleasure to work with. There's a comment related to the fact that the SWCD is not co-located with the USDA partners. However, they're making it work through good communication together. They have good rapport with their customers. They're very organized. They have funding. They could use more funding and more staff. It would be helpful. They recognize that at times they are stretched pretty thin, but they are very good at prioritizing the work that they have. And then finally, they do a great job, and they really try to extend the services and be accommodating to the public. So on the planning and zoning side, again, those same partners were asked to reply and respond about the planning and zoning, and you can see there that the amount of times that they work with them varies in that first paragraph. Maybe more importantly, 87.5% feel that the amount of time that they work with P&Z is about right, and then about 13% say that they'd like to do more again together. Those same 5 performance areas, again, these are great responses and great numbers in my opinion. Most of the respondents who did reply, there's a few that didn't know, so they indicated so on that far right column. But you're landing in the acceptable, good, and strong category in the majority of all those categories. It's not uncommon, to indicate or to have a response in that 4th column. To me, it's just a reflection that, there are opportunities for growth, as indicated here, related to initiative and/or timelines and follow through. So, opportunity there for a little bit of growth. We did ask those partners again if they had some specific comments related to how the department could be more effective. They recognize, number one, have stronger support from their commissioners, and staff provide services to landowners, and each concern is addressed in an individual manner. So I take that to mean that, they take each individual landowner and situation on its own, and they're not just utilizing a cookie cutter approach to do things. So, all right, so we're gonna pass through this because this has been already addressed with staff through the wetland conservation folks, and we're gonna go to the recommendations, which are the findings in part 4. So keep going here. Almost there. Here we go. All right, I had mentioned earlier, that in addition to meeting the basic requirements, you guys were ringing the bells as it relates to doing things that were above and beyond what's expected. I have a list here of bullets of some of those items there that we're recognizing you and commending you for that are above and beyond. Action items, I'm pleased to report that there are no action items because you are meeting all of the basic requirements. We do have a handful of recommendations, though, that we would like the commission and staff to think about as you look forward to the work that you do as it relates to land and water related programs. And these are just that, they're recommendations or suggestions. So what I'll do here is I'll just review them with you one by one, and at the end of that, then I'll open it up for any comments or questions that you may have. So the very first recommendation is a joint recommendation for both the SWCD and the Planning and Zoning Department. And we'd like you guys to work to maintain that consistent level of communication with your partners to build upon that working relationship that you currently have with them. Both the P&Z and SWCD have and are high-performing organizations who do communicate well internally with your partners. And we just want to remind you that maintaining that high level of communications will ensure that your partners, the boards and staff are all working together and understand the work at hand. So the next recommendation is a joint recommendation as well, and it's in regards to tracking. Continue to gather and compile data about implementation efforts related to your organization that you're making towards the comprehensive watershed management plans. As organizations who are participating in multiple One Watershed, One plans, partnerships, you are completing important work that contributes towards those plan goals. By consistently tracking implementation information and sharing it among your partners will allow for a holistic picture of work completed to implement a shared plan and should be used by the partnership for reflection and evaluation of progress towards the plan goals. We encourage you to work with your watershed partners to affirm how information gets tracked, compiled, and shared. Before you can have that conversation, you got to be able to know how to do it locally, and that's why we have that particular recommendation embedded into your organizational report. The second joint recommendation is in regards to reflecting. Spend time with your watershed-based partners to compare work activities completed versus activities that were planned. With a clear insight into what is working and what isn't, your organization and partners can refine its strategies and allocate resources more effectively. Taking time to reflect on your work may open the door to fresh ideas and innovative approaches to future work. The flexibility and your willingness to tackle thorough, tough, and complex issues, as referenced in the survey, is a good example of this approach. Reflecting can also reinforce a sense of responsibility and commitment to your goals. The next is also a joint recommendation, and it's in regards to sharing. Remember to communicate regularly to the public and stakeholders about accomplishments you're making towards watershed management work. This can be done through a number of avenues such as press releases, presentations, newsletters, annual reports, and through state communications such as Bowser's Snapshot and Clean Water Fund Stories. I want to remind everybody that sharing is not the same as required reporting associated with grants. Do this to disseminate the results of public investments in water management, to communicate successes or challenges in implementing your plans, and to maintain public support for watershed work and the legacy funding overall. This is going to be really important down the road here, especially as we near the end date for the clean water legacy funding that you've been getting to implement these plans. It's important for the public to understand that there are good things that are being implemented in their backyards and in their counties. And when this particular item comes back on the ballot, we want landowners and individuals who are going to vote on this to say, you know, the local organizations used that money well, and they did some great work in our county and in our backyard. That's going to make it an easier yes for them on the ballot next time. The next recommendation is to conduct a workload assessment. Bowser encourages both organizations to conduct a workload assessment. Some survey respondents identified heavy workload and the need for additional staff. Understanding workload can help your organization make better decisions about hiring, training, and the processes based on the workload analysis. Analyzing workloads can also help organizations to identify barriers, define priority tasks, and ensure employees are working at their best capacity. Maintaining a healthy workload balance can promote employee well-being, lead to better performance, increase morale, and improve employee retention. And then finally, the last recommendation is specific to Todd County, and it's in regards to official controls. We encourage the county to look for ways to incorporate comprehensive watershed management plan priorities into the land use planning efforts, ordinances, and decisions. Official controls such as regulations, policies, and other mechanisms can be important tools for protecting, maintaining, and improving priority resources as identified in your comprehensive watershed management plans. It can also be beneficial to enhance the understanding of the local boards, such as the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustments, on the priorities found within those comprehensive watershed management plans. So Adam has shared with me that this is a commitment that you've already made to incorporate these processes into your new comp plan, which I was glad to hear. But yeah, you guys are doing very well as a county and as an SWCD. And at this point in time, I'll pause and ask if you have any specific questions for me. Commissioners?
Yes. Did you interview any constituents within the county on any of this stuff?
So the constituents that would have been interviewed would have been individuals who are identified to participate in the survey. So whoever those individuals were, we left it up to the discretion of each organization to help us identify who to send the survey to.
Okay, I don't get so many complaints on the water and soil end of it than I do the planning and zoning part of it. So, I do have a lot of, building going on within my district. I have the majority, Bob has a little bit, and I think Lou has a little bit of the Sauk River watershed, which is a taxing authority.
Yes.
Okay, at our last One Watershed, One Plan meeting, the question was brought up of, okay, they want to change some of the rules, so who's going to be the enforcing agency? Okay, is it going to be the Sauk River watershed, or is it going to be Todd County Water and Soil, or is it going to be Todd County Planning and Zoning? Nobody had any clear directive on that. So that concerns me a little bit. But as far as planning and zoning, I mean, I could find dozens of violations. And I had a phone call on Friday from an individual, a lake association. They said the same thing. Todd County's not enforcing any of their ordinances, any of the rules, okay? I was up at the AMC Leadership Conference, standing in line, getting ready to eat, and I had another commissioner from another county go, woo, Todd County, easiest county in the state to do anything. So what's that tell you? So that's just my outlook on this.
Yeah, and I appreciate your input as it relates to those items, and I think, you know, as a commission and as those entities that do have powers, duties, and authorities, you know, there's opportunities to, you know, look at those specific situations and figure out, you know, what are the things that as policymakers we have control over, you know, that we need to make sure that if it says this, that we're doing this as compared to something else. So, you know,
Right.
there's a level of internal accountability as it relates to checks and balances as well. So I do appreciate your comments and your feedback.
Mr. Chair, if I may. I also wanted to notice with what you're saying, Randy, maybe things are missed here and there. We do see that the partners do realize that we may be understaffed as well. Maybe just the regulations and things we have in place, we just don't have the staff to accommodate all of them. And as this shows, our partners are realizing that. So, I mean, I'm not trying to say that we're not missing some things, but maybe it's because we just can't keep up with what's actually out there.
And, excuse me, but if I could, I think part of that, about employment and so forth, we are so cramped downstairs.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a major issue we have.
That's a hindrance for us, yes.
Ability to house any more people downstairs.
Very true.
That's not an uncommon issue that most organizations have to deal with. Recognize that.
What does a typical county do with this report? Obviously, we got things we can potentially work on, but like you talked about sharing the success stories. Like, I mean, in my head, I'm going, should this be out for publication? Should it be, what do you see?
So this report is for you. And
So we can do whatever we want.
The PRAP report is a look back at how things are working or how things have been going. And it provides you through those recommendations that I just outlined, opportunities as a organization to have conversations about, you know, how do you as an organization who's a lot closer to it than I am, you know, feel we've been doing in this area or that area. And I think it really, if you make the commitment to take the report and to look at it and spend time talking about it, you know, each little piece, I think it will present opportunities, you know, for you to think about as you move forward with implementing whatever aspects of it is that you want to look at.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would, to me, this is a good report. And so I'd certainly like to address if there's anything that our teams can do, but in the same token, I'd also like to say thank you and share with our constituents what is being said. So I don't know if that's through publication or through website posting or whatever, but You know, nobody,
So
most
I
people
will-
don't, most people are gonna toot their horn for you. You're gonna have to toot your own horn. So
Exactly.
we should
And-
probably toot our horn on
yeah.
something that's going very well.
And that's one thing that I tell, you know, most folks is that, you know, it's a pretty common fault for us Midwesterners, for most Midwesterners, in that we're far too modest. And, you know, we need to tell our story. Because if we don't, it's not gonna get told. The one thing that I will share, in addition to, you know, the presentation that I just did here today, this morning, I do take the data from each of these reports. So this year I'm gonna be doing 29 of these different reports. I do take a summary from every single report and I put it into a legislative report. It's an annual legislative report that goes to the state legislators. So the state legislators will see what's a snippet or a summary of this report. So your constituents will know what the findings were and what the recommendations and/or if there had been any required actions. So there's that level of accountability to your legislators for the work that you're doing. And that's the transparent part of the PRAP program as it relates to this effort.
Thanks, thank you, that's good. Any other commissioners' comments, questions? Quite the survey. Thank you very much for all your time. That's been very informative and.
Yeah, and I do want to just take a public moment to, you know, thank the staff, both on the planning and zoning and the SWCD side, for their openness and honesty and being transparent with regard to their operations. And, you know, if we don't have that level of trust at the state to local entity, that type of a relationship, it's difficult for us as a state oversight agency to know how we can help. And that's the other thing that I share with, you know, Deja and Adam as well, is that, you know, you do have a primary Bowser person who is your point of contact through your board conservationist, and that's Jason Wienerman. No, Darren Mayers. Used to be Jason, Darren Mayers. But I want you to consider me as a resource as well. So if there's a need as it relates to organizational efficiency or operation-related things, I'm only a phone call or an email away.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
All right.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, guys.
Our third agenda item today is the discussion on the use of the van that we purchased through CARES Act funding. And I think Sheriff Allen and Kathy Langer, our Director of County Corrections, will be doing that. Welcome.
Morning.
Morning.
I guess I'll take the lead and Kathy can jump in where she needs to. So in 2020, previous administration had requested and received a grant from the CARES Act to receive a 2020 transport van. That van was earmarked for transporting COVID-positive inmates to the hospital and COVID-positive deaths to the ME's office. We've used that van for transport on deceased bodies to the ME office for the first couple, 3 years. Since then, the transport has been done by funeral homes throughout the area who will typically be taking care of that funeral service. And so we haven't been using it for that purpose. A couple of years ago, I thought, well, there's got to be a better use for this thing. So it's a 5-year-old van. It's got a little over 7,000 miles on it, and we really don't have a use for it. And so in looking for other options, I threw it out there to other department heads. If anybody has a use for it, we've got this van that's sitting there rotting. Through that, we found that the STS crew uses vans for transport. This current van has a cage in it, so it's set up for transporting inmates. It would be similar to the use for the STS crew, and there'd be a need in the short future for a van for that purpose. So we're not using it. Commissioner Becker requested that we look for ways to do that, and so I looked for who to get a hold of because of the CARES Act, and every person and contact that I've looked for is either not in business anymore because of the COVID pandemic being done, or I have not received a call back from a higher group. So I'm sitting here with this van that has some use for somebody, in my opinion, probably for the SDS crew or somewhere else in the county, but I don't have a use for it. And so I sit here with it and it's being wasted. And so I guess the recommendation is if we can find a use for it throughout the county somehow, it would be fantastic. It sits in my cage and I have to buy a new battery for it every year because it's dead. So that's what I have.
Question for Kathy and Mike. Did you speak with Lee, Kathy, about that van, if it's adequate to pull the trailer you have?
I did, Commissioner Noska, and he did state it's more than adequate to
Okay,
pull.
okay. Just making sure
anything-
it'll serve the full purpose, not just hauling people, but also pulling your equipment. Yeah.
Okay, and I think during our meeting, we never got a chance to hear from you, Denise, you know, about the CARES Act and how, if we can transfer that van, you know, or how we go about transferring it legally.
Yes, I apologize, I wasn't at that meeting. I had a notification on my emails that it was canceled. But neither here nor there, my emails show it was canceled, so I apologize, I was not there to have the discussion. We've talked at length through emails between Sheriff Allen, myself, Coordinator Bauer. We're caught between the rock and the hard spot as Auditor Treasurer. I'm the one filing all the federal reports. It's my name that's associated with these reports. Jolene sat by me when we started CARES, and we basically had to give the blood of our firstborn. They did facial recognition on our computers for us to sign in. So we're on the hook for this. I totally get that it's sitting there not being used. In the time CARES money was being distributed, committees were formed and you had to tell the federal government what your intent was for these dollars. Now, previous administration is the one that wrote all the summaries, and Jolene, step in, you have the data in front of you. We have to go by what that is stated.
Correct, and the original request to the committees, as far as the CARES committees go, there was a test document that was completed of what the purpose of the asset was going to be for, and whether or not leasing could fit that instead of purchasing the true asset. And those justifications provided by the previous administration were signed and reviewed by that committee.
So those are the documents that were sent to CLA, our auditors, because they actually had a division of auditors established that worked with Washington DC and the federal government. They were sent out there, they were trained, they came back. Previous coordinator Pelzer sat on many phone calls with them because we were against buying this transport van because it became an asset that we knew after COVID would just sit there. And the rules and regulations in the federal government is that entity has to keep it, and if they don't want to keep it, they have to give it back to the federal government. Now, I get there might not be these liaisons anywhere that you can find, but that doesn't mean that somewhere down the line, there's gonna be a Doge coming through and doing an audit test on our federal funding. And the thing that concerns me is I am affiliated with this for federal reporting every year. So now we're taking an asset and we're moving it to an agency of the county. It's not Todd County, it's an agency.
And I guess I completely understand where the situation is.
And I completely get the common sense too. Common sense is why is it sitting here?
I guess the question is, if it's mine, what can I do with it? If it's registered to the sheriff's office, can I use it can I do what I want with it? Can I use it for my transport vehicle? Can I use it to haul tables to the fairgrounds to set up for the fair? I don't know what I can do with it. if I can do whatever I want with it because it's registered to us, can I lease it to corrections for a box of donuts a year so it gets used? No, I understand we're in a, if I could call Joe Smith down in Washington DC and say, we got this from the CARES Act, we would really like to repurpose it, we would really like to give it back, we would really like to make a flower pot out of it, I would do that. But there's absolutely nobody that answers the phone. There's absolutely no one who will return my call. Vast majority of the messages that are places that I call say this phone number is no longer in use. And so I'm sitting here with a piece of equipment that if I have no use for, and it's in my way, what direction do I have? My other option is to park it on the street and let somebody tow it away and let the tow company deal with however they deal with a vehicle that's not being claimed, which is absolutely foolish, in my opinion. But it's sitting there and it's costing me money because I have to do maintenance on it every year. I got to put a new battery in it. I got to pay insurance for it. I've got to do something with it, and I might as well just throw that money in the garbage.
And it sounds like you can't get rid of it even. You couldn't even take it to a recycling center if you wanted to.
Based on
you can't hang us with that.
No.
That can't be what we're hung with.
I get that, but what I'm saying is we're technically not even the owners, the federal government is. And so if we don't follow the rules and protocols and procurements that were set down with this CARES, you could be affecting all of our future funding, and you heard it in the audit report today. There are two
All of our
single
future
audits.
CARES funding?
No, any federal funding. There's $6 million you heard in the audit that we get for HHS, Public Works, our previous ARPA money for that transfer station. I'm not saying this will ever come to fruition. I'm just giving you the logistics of our world. And I'm, like I said, personally, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just following what I'm held to follow.
So based on what I have read and understand of the CARES Act, and I could be wrong, so somebody tell me for sure. For me to repurpose this vehicle, I have to reach out to the grant funding agency, ask permission, and they have 180 days to respond. If they don't respond, then I can purpose it however I want. If it's over less than $500, I can do whatever I want with it. If it's more than that, then I have to ask permission. I've attempted to ask permission. There's nobody that will answer the phone. I understand this is a foolish, poor situation for everybody, but it's in my way, and I'm spending money maintaining and insuring a piece of equipment that I can't use. So if it's mine and I can use it however I want, that's fantastic. But based on everything I understand, I have to use it for the transport of COVID inmates. And I don't have a COVID inmate.
You're right. The audit team has disposition of equipment as follows. 1, item of equipment with a current value of a fair market value of $5,000 or less may be retained, sold, or otherwise disposed of without any further responsibility to the federal government. 2, if the federal awarding agency fails to provide requested disposition of instructions within 120 days, items of equipment with a current per unit market value that exceeds $5,000 must be retained by the non-federal entity or sold. The federal awarding agency is entitled to an amount calculated by multiplying the current market value or proceeds from the sale by the federal agency percentage of participation in the cost of the original price. If the equipment sold, the federal awarding agency may permit the non-federal entity to deduct and retain from the federal share $500 or 10% of the proceeds for whichever is less in its selling and handling expenses. So yes, you could, if you don't hear from the federal government within 120 days, but it has to be for fair market. You can't say a dozen donuts or $500. It has to be the value of that van.
Yeah, I'm not interested in selling it.
Okay, you're not selling it.
No, I have no
So
interest
then
in
you have
selling
to
it.
keep it for your department.
Okay, then I can do with what I wish with it, I guess is the question.
Yeah.
Denise, you said you do a yearly report.
Oh,
Who,
we do more
who's
than
your
yearly.
contact? Who do you send it to? Because Mike's saying that he has no response. So who are you hearing,
From the
sending your
federal
report
government,
to?
from Washington DC. They have a website that
Okay.
they send us
I think
to.
the funding organization was the Federal Transit Authority. It was FTA. The CARES Act.
So I mean, you send it to someone. I mean, is there some way that we can use?
We have a
that?
log on that we have to log into. And we have deadlines that we have to do it. So,
With the US Treasury.
yeah, it's with the US Treasury. So we log on to the US Treasury portal.
And you still have to do those reports every year?
Every 3 months we go on.
3-4 times.
Can we
Yes,
go on
every
there and
3
ask them?
That's what my question is that a contact? Or,
Well, it's
I mean,
a
could it be
portal where it has
contact?
the onset of, it's already set up by the federal government. I do not believe when I've been in there that there's a location. Excuse me?
Are we the only county that has this issue?
No, and we knew this was going to be an issue when it came up in 2020. We fought it. Coordinator Pelzer and I sat on these committees and said, this is the dumbest thing to purchase. We're gonna be stuck with an asset. And we got fought tooth and nail on it. And we said, no, we even had the auditors do a Zoom meeting live to say what the reasons why you should not take an asset like this because it becomes tangible and we couldn't get rid of it. And we knew this was gonna come to fruition someday, and it did. And now we're stuck with it. And I get Mike's, and I get Kathy's need.
Is
My
it
hands are tied too.
better if it stays within the county versus going to, I mean, Todd Wadena Corrections? I mean, is that a hangup? Or would it be the same issue no matter what?
Doesn't
I'll
matter,
let you
because,
speak on
because,
this.
because the use is the issue, as for
No, and it's the ownership.
It's Commissioner Becker, to answer your question, if I may, Mr. Chair. Yes, there is a different line in the sand here that we need to be careful about because Todd Wadena Corrections is their own separate legal entity. They're not under the county's direct umbrella. So that would be a shift of ownership.
Can we shift corrections to Mike's department under the county? And that way they use a van for that?
We also need
Please
to
lease
talk
it to
about
him.
the asset.
I just sent an email to Manny Heffron and told her to ask Representative Fishbach what the hell we can do. And then if not, let's go to Senator Klobuchar, explain the situation and have her, if she says, hey, you guys can do whatever you want with that thing, so be it. But we gotta go to the next level. And the next level is our representatives in the federal level. Get it cleared up because otherwise we're gonna sit here and beat our heads against the wall.
Yeah, it's, at what point does this piece of equipment go under $5,000? 20 years from now? And it sits there and
Exactly.
then it'll have
20 years, you put
14,000
new-
miles
For
on
20 years, you put new batteries in it, you maintain it.
Yeah.
Or you park it in your
Needs to
impound lot
sign
and run
off
into
on
the
this and
snowplow,
say-
so it's worth $5,000 and get
There
rid of
you
it.
go, damage it.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
But we can't, not the same token, we
Can't do nothing until.
leave you guys hanging on a.
Well, you
String.
as a board can do what you want, but I
Yeah.
will state for public record that I will expect the board and our county attorney to release a letter in my favor saying I am not legally responsible to the federal government for any of these findings.
Unless I'm incorrect, the title of the vehicle is in the sheriff's office name.
Right.
And so I would suspect that if I decide to use it for transporting something and it's not for the purpose of, that it was meant for, they'd have to come after me in my office, I would think.
And my office, because I'm the one doing the reporting. So I'm stating every time I do this reporting, is everything status quo? Is it as you reported it when you first bought this?
So-
And I'm clicking on and saying, yep, everything's still the same. So they come through and
But
they.
you would have no working knowledge, Otter, if what the use of it is right now, correct?
It's sitting in your impound lot. I realize you're not using it, but I'm saying I'm signing off on a legal document to the federal government stating that, yes, this van is still in this intent for this use.
Okay.
So now, when you're saying that they're only gonna come after you, No.
No, I'm not saying that it's not, but I guess my question is, and this is a whole lot of discussion over a vehicle, and I apologize for that, but if,
Yes, you can
so
use
I
it
have,
for
I
what
have
you
all the
want.
intentions in the world to take that van to Tennessee within the next month to pick up an inmate. That is not the purpose of this van.
I get that, but I know that you could be allowed to do that because it is worded transport van. Yes, in the
Okay.
summary, it said to transport COVID inmates, but it
Okay.
also says transport van. So
Okay.
you as a sheriff,
All right.
I would.
Yeah, and I just don't want to
imagine-
get in trouble for using it for a purpose. Because in all reality, the purpose that we're using it now is for long distance transports. It's been to Indiana, it'll go to Tennessee, it's been to Illinois.
That's perfect.
Certainly not what the intentions of that vehicle is, because there's certainly nobody there with COVID, but it makes sense to me to do that. So maybe this time in 5 years, we'll have 10,000 miles on it. Find a different use.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, I have a
Go ahead.
question. Thank you. And I apologize, Denise, for not having a chance to run this by you first, but it seems to me that the Auditor Treasurer's Office is having quarterly communication with the funding source, or whoever is the legal authority requiring ongoing reporting. Would it be possible that within the portal that the Auditor Treasurer accesses quarterly, they could ask the question and get a legal definitive opinion on the sheriff's questions?
We can look into that portal and see if there's a tab that says contact us or connect with us. I can't tell you right now because it's like we said, it's an act of God to log into it and we have to do it simultaneously together. And we have to link our phones, which we can definitely do the next time we're in there. And like I said, it's already set up as a portal of click here for this reporting, click here for this. It's not like a website I'm just going to and can access any little avenue. It's already set up by the feds that say, here's the toolbars on the side of these are the reports you can use to report in. But if there is a spot in there that says contact information, we will surely reach out to them. In talking with our auditors on this, just to get some segue into it, because we didn't have a federal contact either, that's exactly what they said. They gave us the Google stuff that I gave to Mike, and he went and looked, and yeah, no, nothing of that's available anymore. But where these people are, I don't know.
So Denise, you're saying that, but our penalty for not utilizing this correctly could be loss of all federal funding?
If it's not handled correctly, it could jeopardize all the federal funding. That's right in the rules. Correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, but.
That'd be worst case scenario.
Okay, I guess so.
I'm thinking we might need to, I think we need to dig in and get some answers, you
Somebody's
know,
gotta give an answer, I guess.
verifiable answers from the
That's why
federal.
we suggested bringing it to a work session when we did, because we had the discussion at our meeting, community correction meeting, and there were so many questions that, yeah.
Yeah, we can do some research on our side on that portal and see what we come up with, but
Please
like
do.
I said, we've been emailing back and forth with Mike and Jackie and Jolene and myself, and we've been doing avenues of where we have found federal agencies' information or emailing or calling, and we're not getting anywhere.
Right, I received all the information I believe that the auditor treasurer had, and then I had a file in my office with CARES Act information, and every phone number, every website, every communication is no longer in existence for that equipment. So,
Mr. Chair, excuse me, we cannot be the only county with these questions. I don't know where to start or who to check with, but I will reach out to a couple other counties.
Well, I mean, trying to stay present, but also trying to figure this out, is it looks to me like the funding authority is the FTA, Federal Transit Authority. In my small time listening and doing this, looks like that's the funding authority. I don't know what website portal is, if it's a,
It's the Treasury, United States Treasury.
United States.
okay, so, I mean, there's, yeah, I mean, put our heads together. I mean, I personally don't want to see anybody legally get in trouble.
Well, I have no problem reaching out and sending an email to the United States Treasury saying,
Yeah.
can I use this van for something else? And have them wait for 120 days and not respond, and then if that's appeasing,
I mean,
And you
I
just have to follow
absolutely-
the other steps of fair market value.
he's not gonna sell it though.
well, then I'm gonna keep it and do with whatever I want
He's gonna
and lease it
sell
out.
I mean, there are provisions for I just read through it, non-medical emergencies, or NEMA or NEMA or whatever it's called. I don't know. I didn't want to take up your attention, but, you know, probably has to go through the fine tooth comb, whoever that is and whoever has the staff to do that. But it appears that there might be some things that either I don't understand or that could help us. So, Kathy or Mike, how do we want to,
Well,
you want to put the, in and start the clock, or is it already started?
Yeah, if I can find the site to send a question to start our 120 days, and then I'll continue to research everything I can. And then maybe we'll get somewhere that way.
Okay.
In the meantime, maybe Commissioner Newman will have some response from Klobuchar's office or
I just sent
Fishbach.
Julie Ring, email too, asking her if there's any other counties that are dealing with the same situation. And I explained it, that we got a van with COVID funding and from the feds, and now we're sitting on it, and
Absolutely, and with our meeting last week, as Commissioner Becker said, it's too nice of a piece of equipment to just sit there and rot.
right?
And so, I couldn't agree more. There's gonna be a use for it. I just try to find the channel to get to there.
To get to that point that we
Correct.
can.
Correct. All right.
And I'll forward you guys all the responses.
Okay. Anything else?
Senator Klobuchar.
Okay. You're on record, great.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, before the next
Thanks.
one, before we start the next one, I'm not sure what our work agenda will look like next meeting, but Kathy offered to maybe forego her presentation until our next meeting if we want to shut this down now.
Do we have department head updates at the next meeting, though?
Pardon me, Barb?
Do we have department head reviews?
Our
Evaluations.
next works.
Evaluations?
Oh,
And that was something I was going to ask the board, if you would want to do them either at the June 3rd or at the June 17th meeting.
And you're still planning as,
Sometimes you have to do
after the
2
last person, whatever meeting?
Oh, yeah.
still planning, yes.
It usually happens as I think that close during the meeting and go into that, do the reviews, and then come back. So I'd like those to be done either June 3rd or June 17th.
When to set it?
We could set them as the 17th and let Kathy come back on the 3rd.
Well, that's very generous of her. And
Yeah,
if-
we do appreciate that, Kathy.
Oh,
Yeah. It's
Mr.
getting to be
Chair.
already noon.
Commissioners,
You're okay with that?
I just recognize everybody's been sitting for a long time.
Okay. Thank you. I guess that's what we'll do then. 3rd and the 17th?
Okay. 17th so the 17th for department head reviews. Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. With that, I think we can
Kathy, appreciate that.
be done with
The
work
offer
session.
there.
Okay,
We're done.
we're good?
You gotta go to St. Cloud now?
I'm gonna go feed the cows quick. I got an hour.